Hello crafters, this is Nye with All Things Were Created. Today we are going to go over the assembly of the Happy Mother's Day flower wreath. This project is going to use a lot of different supplies, and so I thought that instead of me introducing all of them here at the start of this video, I will just show you what I'm using as I use them in the project. So we're gonna get started right away because this one might be a slightly long video. So before I started the video, what I did was I took a few moments and I went through the assembly of most of my flowers here for the wreath. I did save 3 of them so that way we could go through the steps of doing them together. So what I have here is one set of my white flower, one set of my light pink flower, and then one set of my darker pink flower. So in order to create the flower, what we are going to do is use a paintbrush and just kind of add a little bit of ink to add some texture and some color to our cardstock. And so in order to get this look, I am using these ink pads here. I have the mustard seed and the candied apple, and I also have some paintbrushes that I will be using, just some old paintbrushes that I have that I will be using to add the ink to the flower here. And in the center, I will be using some rhinestones and some of those diamond dots beads that you would use with diamond painting. Okay, and so let's go through the assembly here of the white one, the white flower. I also have this inking pad. It's really just a piece of plastic that I will be using to paint the flower on. And this is really just to kind of help protect my table here so I don't get it dirty and messed up. Because I don't want that, because I like my workbench here. Okay, so first things first, I just have a brush here. This is just a small paintbrush, but you do want to make sure that it has some bristles because that's going to kind of give this effect. Can you guys see this here? Hopefully I'm holding it up to the camera. That's going to give a little bit of this brush effect here. And so I also have a piece of paper that I will be using, just a little piece of cardstock. And so what we're going to do is just kind of take a little bit on the brush. I'm just kind of brushing it here and dotting it here so it's not super dark when I go to hit the paper. And okay, here we go. And so I'm going in a little bit of a circle here, and I'm going to get a little bit more, dot it. And now what I'm going to do is just flick my wrist out here onto the petal to kind of add the streak onto the leaf of it, or the petal of it here. So just a little bit of a flick of my wrist with the brush. And it's really just to kind of add a little bit of dimension and variation so it's not just a white flower. And that's really all I'm going to do for this one here. So you can see it. The center is where it's the darkest, and then out in the petals is where it's light. And so I'm going to do this step for the other 2 parts of the flower here. And so this part is, like I said, it's just going to add a little bit of color to the flower and help to give it that realistic appearance. And again, I'm going to do it on the top one here, the top flower, part of the flower. And just a flick of my wrist to draw out that yellow. And now, as you can see with this one here, I'm only adding the red to this top layer. So again, I have a different paintbrush. You could use the same one if you want, but what you want to do is make sure you're not going from red to yellow. You want to make sure that you're going from the lighter to the dark, so you're not really transferring the dark ink onto your lighter ink pad there. And again, I'm just going to dot this one out a bit. And on my top one here, I'm just taking my brush and kind of going in a circle. And then I'm just going to flick my wrist out just a little bit, but not all the way to the end of the petal here. So just a little bit in all different angles, just to kind of add, again, a little bit of color to it there. All right. So that's now our white flower. And that's really all that we're going to do with the inking on the white flower. So now what we are going to do also with the white flower is we're going to add the beads to that top layer. So I am just using, like I said, or I guess I didn't, well, I did tell you. I am using these diamond dots beads here. These are what you would use for diamond painting. So I'm using these. I also have this gem tack glue. This is what I will be using to add the beads to the paper. And I also have a pen that I will be using as well so I can transfer my beads here. So I'm going to take a little bit of the glue and just add it right in the center here. So this glue, if you use a little bit more, it's okay because it's going to dry clear, even though it shows up white here on the paper. And yes, you really do want to make sure that you're using this glue because it's a permanent glue and it's made for beads and for rhinestones. And I'm going to give this a little bit of a shake here so I can get some of the top ones. Try the other side. And then I'm just going to add it to the center there. Just to kind of add a little bit, again, of variation to the center of the flower. Now, if you wanted to, what you could do instead of using beads is you could use brown ink and just add brown ink here to the center. But again, these beads are going to add a different texture to our cardstock and to our wreath and give it that more authentic look here. Oh, that one's upside down. Well, there we go. And I think that's all I'm going to add there. So I've got what looks to be, this is probably going to be 7. The 7th bead that I'm adding in right there. Okay. So you really don't need that many, but obviously you can't. If you have these at home, like if you do diamond painting, then obviously you can use what you have. You don't have to go out and purchase a brand new set of these. I'm going to close up my glue here and then move this off to the side. So that's what we're going to do for this flower. So now what I'm going to do is I have this glue stick, and what I'm going to do is just kind of roll now a little bit of the petals here. Not a lot, but again, just to kind of help to give that realistic look to the petal. This one I'm going to go opposites for each petal. And then for the top one, I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go opposites. Whoops, it's the opposite that way. And like I said, the glue looks white. I'm going to use my hand too to just kind of fold it in on itself here. The glue looks white, it comes out white, but when it dries, it's going to be clear. And so now I will use my art glitter glue to glue the flower together. So I'm just going to add a little bit here to the center. Well, that was a lot, not a little bit there. And then just kind of place it opposite so that way you can see the petals through. And then I'm going to add a little bit again right there. And again, I'm going to place them on the opposite so that way you can see it there. And so there we go. That'll just kind of make the flower, and it adds a little bit of dimension and variation to it. I really like them. Oops, I think I turned it. Okay, so that finishes up our white flower there. And what we're going to now do is basically the same steps for the pink flowers. And so I'm only going to do it on the parts of the flower where you will be able to see the pink. So this is my light pink one. I'm only going to paint the light part of my flower. And as you can see, these two, each layer of the flower here, they're stacked on top of each other. So I don't need to do it to this dark pink one. I'm only going to do it to the lighter pink ones. And for this pink one, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use this flamingo color to paint my pink here. And I'm going to use my yellow brush because I only have, do I have an extra one here? Oh, I do. I'll use this one then. Okay. So again, I'm going to grab some ink here off of my ink pad and kind of put it there. I'm going to go into the center here. And even though you really don't need to do it with the center here because this is going to be hidden by the layers above, but I'm just going to flick out a little bit here with my brush to just kind of add a little bit of color to the edge of the petal there. Whoops. All right. So for the next layer, and it's okay if it's really dark in the center because like I said, it's going to be hidden by all of the, it's going to be hidden because it's going to be glued right there in the center. Even the top layer is going to be glued because it'll have the beads there. Alrighty. So this is most likely the longest part of this project here because just adding the color to the different layers takes a bit of time. And get a little bit more. Okay. Okay, we're almost there. That's good. So that will take my lighter pink flower petal. And again, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a few moments. I'm probably going to speed up the video here because I'm really concerned that this video might end up being a while. And I'm just using my glue stick here to roll the petals and just really to break up the fibers of the paper so that way it's going to give it a more realistic look to the flower. And then this one I'm going to go opposites again like I did with the light one there. And then this will be my top layer. I'm going to again go opposite. All right. Whoops. I didn't get it there. Okay. And then I will also have to do that for this, the lighter pink, which will sit on top. So again, I'm just going opposites here. And then I think for the next big one, I'm going to go all in the same direction, which will be down. And I'm just taking the paper and rolling it along the glue stick. Hopefully that's pretty clear. Just to kind of bend the paper a bit. This one I didn't do. And then for the top one, I'm going to go opposites again. Now, another thing that you could do with your flowers, if you really wanted to, if you had a scoring tool, you could take your scoring tool and actually add lines onto the flower petal there. And that will just kind of help to represent the veins in the flower. And so, okay, so now we're ready to glue. And what you're going to do is just line up the lighter pink on top of your darker pink layer there. Add a bit of glue and then press and hold it for a moment. I'm going to do that with this next layer here. Kind of add it there. Add my glue again. And press it down right on it. And I'm just bending it a little bit with my hand here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of glue here onto the bottom layer right in the center, because this is where I was telling you that it didn't really matter if you were really dark there in the center with the paint, because it's all going to get covered. You just wanted to have it add a little bit of color to the petal. And that's that one. And then for this one as well, I think I'm going to just see which way I like it to sit here. And go this way. And another way that you could do the flowers, if you really wanted to, you could really just add it, at least the top one, you could add it so that it's like that if you wanted to, where it's not completely on top of each other. I'm gonna go with that one there. All right. Okay, so now before we go and glue this one onto this, we're going to add the center part of the flower here. And that's where this gold piece is going to come in handy. What I'm going to do is, that part had ripped off. So I'm going to just press this in my finger or in the palm of my hand here, and I'm just going to allow my hand to bend the paper. So right there. So you can see I just allowed my hand to bend it there. Now I'm going to take it, add a little bit of glue to the back, and then press it right there in the center. And again, what I'm going to do is add some of my beads here, my rhinestones, I should say, to the center, and I'm going to use pink. So just add a few there. And again, I'm going to use my Gem Tack glue here and add that again right in the center. And like I said, remember, it's going to be white, but that's okay because it's going to dry clear, and I'm going to add a lot. And then I'm going to use my tool and add the rhinestones right in the center. So you do want to make sure too that when you're adding these, that the glue is really getting onto the bottom of that rhinestone. Because the last thing that we want is when we actually put it together is for any of it to fall off. And so if you're seeing white too through some of the stones, remember that's okay, because when it dries completely, it'll all be clear. And so here, so you can see this one nice and close, up close there, okay? And so we're gonna put this one together. And again, just add some glue right there in the center. And then place your flower right down. Press it down and just kind of hold it so it takes a moment to dry. Okay, there we go. And that's what your flower will end up looking like. All right, so now we're going to do the same step. I don't have a towel here. I forgot that. I have a bit of glue in my fingers. So now we're going to do the exact same steps here for the dark pink flower. It looked like it popped up. Let me just press it down one more time. I'm going to get more glue on my hand. But for this dark flower now, for my dark pink flower, I'm going to keep these same pink ones because I'm going to use those on this one as well. But for this dark pink flower here, I'm actually going to use a green for this one. Just because my shade of pink here is a bit darker than this lighter pink flower that I did. So I'm going to use this Bundled Sage color ink pad. And again though, I'm going to just use my brush, grab a bit, and then you can see it here on this side, just to get that off. It's just like an olive kind of color. And so this one, I'm actually really not going to worry about my center here. I'm just going to flick it out. Now, it's not going to be as visible for you guys as it is for me because this one's pretty dark here. And this one I'm actually really pressing a lot. I'm going to speed up the video. Okay, so this one doesn't really need a lot because it's hard to see it through the camera, but it's not going to be super dark. But again, what I need to do is to roll the petals to break up the fibers here. Okay, and so again, what we're going to do is just begin to glue these pieces right on it, with the two flower petal layers together. And just press them together so they hold. And then we're going to add the center for the top layer as well. Like I said, put it right in the center and just kind of use your hand to bend it, to curl it in. Okay. And then use your glue to the bottom and then add it right in the center. And then we're going to add the Gem Tack glue, again right in the center there. And remember, it's okay to be generous with it here because it's going to dry clear, and that's going to be it for this part. So cap it and move it away. And then I'm going to use my pen here. And then I'm going to put these extra ones away. And then just begin to assemble the flower now. And just press them down to hold it there so that way it's a firm seal. And there we go. I took that one off. Okay, and so there's that flower. Very pretty, right? Okay, so that's the assembly of the flowers. Whew! That was a lot, right? And it was long. So now what we're going to do is we're going to assemble the wreath part. And this part is really just going to be a lot of gluing here. So I'm going to put this one off to the side here to start. We're going to start with the back. So remember we had cut this center one with craft board, okay? And so we are going to want to make sure that the craft board is in the center. It's just there really to kind of help give that extra support for us. And so I'm just going to add glue everywhere here. I'm going to use double-sided tape here just to kind of help me get this one a bit secure. That turned out to be an extra long piece. So I'm actually going to use my scissors and just cut this one in half. Add that one there. I'm going to add it here at the bottom. that takes care of that part. I think this one, I'm actually going to tuck this part here underneath so that way you can see that part of the sign. I'm going to take this part and glue it right here as well. Just tipped my glue. Okay. So that, now we've assembled this part of the wreath. Let me make sure. Oh, I forgot about the S here. Good thing I saw it, right? Happy Mother Day. That would be a little funny. And there we go. So I'm just going to lift it up and take a look here because I'm wondering if I had gotten it a little off, but it's okay. I did, but it's okay. That's okay. This was supposed to come up more that way, but when I stuck it, it went off to the side. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to actually line up my flowers before I really start gluing here. So you kind of want to make sure that you've got it centered here, like that. And then I'm going to take some white ones, put them here underneath, right there. And I'm going to use a light pink here. And also here. Then some more white right there. And now I'm going to use my dark pink right there. I'm going to have my light pink up here. So okay. Ooh, that looks pretty good. It's not finished, but it sure looks good, right? Okay. So in order to glue these now to the actual wreath, what you want to do is we're going to be using a mixture of hot glue gun, foam tape here to kind of, because we don't want it to be completely flat. Even though we bent some of the petals to give it that 3D appearance, we're going to want to kind of stagger them a little bit here on it. So I'm going to start with my darker pink one here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to the back of my flower here. I'm also going to add my foam tape, my foam dots right to it. And I know that you're all wondering why, but you will see in just a moment because it's really not necessary, but it is. So I did 2 there, and then I'm going to take 1 more and put it there on my finger for a second. And I'm going to take my hot glue and add it on both of these. So why I'm using the hot glue is because I really want to make sure that these don't come off for any reason necessary. I want them to be stuck forever. All right, and so now I'm also going to take my hot glue and add it to there. And I'm going to press Let me put this one back before my glue dries. I'm going to press it right there in the center. And so what you can see, well, what I can see and you guys can't, is that it sits up a little bit higher than it's not completely in the center here. And look, that's where it ended up. So I'm going to have to add it again. Because my all right, so once you get the first one down, then the rest will kind of become a little bit easier for you there. I need to get my stool, bring my stool in here. Okay, that looks much better. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add hot glue to my white layers, my white flowers. Okay. Whew. So that took a while to add all of those. And wow, it actually looks pretty amazing. I've got to figure out how to grab it. There we go. It looks pretty amazing and gorgeous. Whew, I love it. Wow. Okay, so now what you can do if you want is you can take and add a little bit of jute twine at the back to make it a hanging wreath. I'm going to do that on mine, but I'm actually just going to take a very, very little bit. So I have some twine here. I'm just going to take a very, very little bit. In fact, I'm going to make mine into a little bit of a knot. Actually, I'm just going to cut it. And again, I'm just going to do that there to mine. Just kind of fold it on itself. So I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue right there. And just kind of fold it in on itself. Give it a chance to dry. There we go. I just rubbed mine together. Okay, so it's just a little bit of a hook because I don't really want mine to be too visible here at the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over and just be really gentle with this part here. And I think I'm going to add mine right about there. I'm going to keep it so it stays hidden through my flower here. And just kind of add it right in there. I'm going to find a better way to hold it here. I don't want to press it down because I don't want to crush any of my flowers that I just worked really hard to make. Okay, and so there I've got just a little bit of a hook at the back, and that's it. Oh, this is beautiful. I don't know if you're making it for yourself or to gift to someone, but it is gorgeous, and whoever gets it is going to love it. Okay, whew, that was a long video, right, friends? Okay, I'll see you next time. Happy crafting.